Hey, honeys and hunks. We're going to scroll that. Oh, wait, my bad. So, another brand new episode of Hardcourt Honeys this week. And as always, we have the one behind the ones and twos. We have Jade Auxiliary Things Johnson.
Hey.
Has basketball been treating you well this week?
Basketball's been pretty good. I had a little bit of a light week this week where I was just kind of like, I think I want to do other things mostly, but I did really enjoy on last Tuesday with all the tournament games. NBA, it must have been the League Pass stream that I had like 4 games on the screen at the same time for the tournament. And I'm like, I am so here for this. It was awesome. And they had like a separate commentator who would like call bits of each game. And then they would go to the audio of that game. They would come back. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is like basketball heaven. I was such again, the tournament was not my favorite idea, but now that it's here and I'm seeing it work, I'm all the way in on the tournament.
Yeah, my tune has changed, but one thing that won't change is I hate the courts. But I think that's something we will be saying a lot for the rest of the season.
I have to say the Raptors court is fly as hell, especially compared to some of the other ones.
Ours is just light blue with the lighter blue in the middle. Like, that's it. Like, ours isn't bad.
Yeah, but at least that's better than Chicago's red on red.
It's bad.
It's bad, that one. It's so distracting.
Yes. Such a vibrant dark red. I don't want to say dark red, but just like it's there.
It just feels like I understand they're the Bulls and the red. Like I get it. I get it. But like, do we have to be so literal, guys? And I'm saying guys because obviously men did this design. I'm just saying.
You can obviously tell they're the ones designing it. But also joining us today is the Giggle Master herself, Shay at Shay Watches NBA Vassar. Have you been able to soak up some NBA content this week?
I have. So the greatest thing about having COVID is that you can watch all the basketball games because
all the games.
You need to like kind of relax and just chill. So I've just been chilling watching games.
That sounds very nice with it all.
Yeah.
I think COVID aside.
COVID aside.
I mean, depending on. I'm just kidding. You get extra sleep. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's bad. But also, I love being in bed. So.
Well, yeah, of course. Now someone can tell, you can say why you were in bed. Someone being like, you were in bed all day? Being like, well, mind your business first.
Yeah, you don't know why.
Yes.
You don't know what I do.
Exactly. I won't tell you what to do if you don't tell me what to do. There we go. Okay. Anywho, we're going to go dive into this today with this. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media at Hardcourt Honeys on Instagram, at HCH on Twitter. We should say X, but whatever. And then don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram. That's what I said on Hardcourt Honeys. And then follow us on any podcast spots that you listen to. I'm getting better at putting it for the past few weeks. It's been a little bit of an issue trying to download these things. I can deal with that later. But, okay, diving in this week. Now, NBA is officially swung in, and the league is hitting news and leagues and everything is going on. Western Conference. We're going to be talking about some surprises in the West. We got some giants falling down, and there's a big 3 that I don't think that we have been too scared about, and I don't know if we're going to have to be for the rest of the year. And then when we hit up the Eastern Conference, we'll talk about the success of a Hardenless Sixers, a Windy City that needs to go a full blow-up time, and also their own conference surprises. So, all right, diving in, we got for the Western Conference, Shay, since this is an Oklahoma City thing, is OKC what Sacramento was last year, where just like out of nowhere, they're the 3rd seed?
Well, I don't think it's out of nowhere. It is similar though to Sacramento. I think they are an underdog, underestimated, but I think they've been doing some really great work with especially these newbies. I mean, SGA we know is a young talent, and I've been saying it, he's not going to stay somewhere where he is not going to reach that full potential star. Like he's made to be a star. You even said it before, like very possible future MVP, right? Like so why would he spend some of his best years at a team unless they are going to get him there? And I really do think that they are going to get him there. And so I love seeing the new members that they've brought in and the way that they are working together. I mean, everyone's talking about Chet, duh, but I think that this is the year that people start realizing how great Giddy is. I don't know. They're a fun team to watch. They're so fun.
They're stacked. Like
Stacked.
Oklahoma is stacked. And I think fans at large don't understand it yet because they're at the very beginning of being like just a stupidly good basketball team. But like next season, the season after, everyone who watches basketball is going to be talking about OKC. Like I've made it a point to watch a few of their games because they are so fun to watch, first of all.
So fun.
But like they have so much talent and real, like their scouting department is, I would say, best in the NBA right now. Because their talent, they are so deep and they have so many players that can do everything. They have so many players that can do everything. Like, how do you guard them? How do you stop them?
So, for bringing up Giddy, thanks on that, Shay. So, there's been kind of rumors that maybe Giddy is expendable in the fact where maybe they could use him and then one of the 15,000 picks they have, and then maybe get even someone a little bit better than him to go with SGA and Chet. Jade, do you think that's actually a solid idea for them to at least kind of feed around the bushes with?
I mean, I think with the number of picks that they have and the fact that there's no way that they can keep everyone, there's going to be some changes in what that core group looks like. Especially after a few rookie contracts start to get up and there's re-signings that have to happen. Like what this team looks like right now is not what is going to look like when they are, an Western Conference Finals team, which I think is in the medium future for them. So I haven't really watched enough for me to say, well, this is the person I would move on from kind of thing. But regardless of what moves they decide to make, like you said, they have picks for years.
Yep.
More picks than any team can ever use. So I'm really curious to see how that all shakes out. Like, what are they going to do with all of them?
They're going to get too good and then trade them all off.
That's what I'm thinking. Like at some point, they're going to have to just be giving them away because they literally can't keep them all.
Right.
What are you getting with all of these picks at one point? You're building a team of 20-year-olds all over again.
Right. And at a certain point, like that's not the cycle you're trying to be in forever. So I think that at some future point, some superstar is going to be looking for a trade because this is the era of the NBA that we live in. And Oklahoma is going to be in a prime position. They're going to be contenders. They're going to have all the picks that you could possibly need to get literally anybody on a trade that you could possibly want that's available.
Just because Giddy plays point guard, does it great. But you know who's also playing point guard that's really great? SGA.
Right.
So is SGA is MVP material this year, Shay?
I picked him for my MVP.
That's right.
That was my preseason pick.
Could a rookie of the year and MVP being on the same team?
Ooh.
I can see it.
I don't think it's out
to any team. Come on.
Yeah, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. That's what's so fun about being an NBA fan right now. Nothing's outside the realm of possibility right now. Like anything could happen.
That's why we love this league. I mean, this is kind of what always happens is we don't know what the season's going to look like. We don't know how it's going to change tomorrow.
I can't think of recent years where you have a player that's still MVP worthy and then still you have the rookie of the year. Last time I can think of that is David Robinson and Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
David Robinson was still really good. Tim Duncan, Rookie of the Year, Dave Robson could have won MVP, or at least he was in that realm. So if you're in the tiers of David Robinson, Tim Duncan, I think you're in the right spot. So speaking of other teams that were dynasties, so Warriors, they're kind of dropping. So Jade, are they going to figure some things out, or is this still going to be are they going to be trudging along for the rest of the season?
Well, I have to remind all of us that we had this same conversation at this time last season, and they figured it out. So I don't know. I still don't like to bet against the Warriors. I don't like to bet against Steph as long as he's still playing. I don't like to bet against Clay as long as he's still playing.
Right.
Andrew Wiggins has had a rough start to the season. The Warriors team changes completely when he gets locked in. And I think that's only a matter of time. I don't see him going an entire season in a franchise of that caliber and not kind of getting his feet under him. But at the same time, we are seeing a bit of a changing of the guard, and it started happening a few seasons ago, but like I think it's happened, right? It's not a given that it's going to be the Warriors anymore. It's not a given that it's going to be LeBron anymore.
Thank goodness, right?
Everything is up for grabs, and anybody could take it. As far as the Warriors go, I mean, like, you know, we're into the rhythm of the season a bit now. It's week 5, but it's still only week 5. A lot of things could change. Teams could drop a bunch of games. Teams could win a bunch of games. And if there's any team that I would bet to bounce back after a rough start in this league, it's the Warriors.
I'm curious, maybe the chemistry issues are going to be off because Steve Kerr at first, because I was watching the press conference off of incidents that had happened earlier. First, full-on defending Draymond, which that's what you're supposed to do as a coach right after. But then next press conference, I think it was like a day or two later, he's tearing Draymond into a new one where, okay, some of the stuff, yeah, I get it, the intensity, but then you cross the line. And he was really digging into the fact of Draymond crossed the line. We get that you got to do it, but at the same time, like, this is full choke. Regardless, could you see that as a possible issue underlying going through with even Steve Kerr getting involved with it, Jade?
Yeah, I mean, what's the coaches willing to publicly say this was not okay? And the fact that it's always Dre. It's always Dre. He is one of the most infuriating personalities in the league for me because sometimes he speaks and he says things that are just so profound and so intelligent and so deep. And then he pulls shit like that.
He is one of the smartest players.
I'm like, Draymond, you are so confusing. You're so confusing. Like, pick a lane, dude.
I'm excited for when he gets on TNT Crew because he's going to be giving him a lot of personality, but also really good insight, as we were just saying. Like, he is so smart on the court, but also at the same time, one of the biggest knuckleheads.
Bonehead.
Bonehead
moments galore.
I will say, though, as someone that had dealt with Wiggins for 7 years, this confidence thing that he's going on definitely happened with us year 3. He dropped because that's when turmoil started happening in the locker room and there was no one to rally things around. So this is just a repeat to something that's happened before. And I'm hoping it doesn't happen again. But he's a very big chemistry and confidence player. And when it lacks them, it's an issue. Hopefully not, though. He's an
Clay and Curry got to get their squad together. They are the veterans.
Clay's got to get himself together.
Yeah, Clay's had a rough start.
Like I said the past few weeks, he's got to stop going like this and start going like this. He's got to hit this again. He's not. He's shooting 34 from deep this year. That's not Clay.
That's not Clay.
That's not Clay.
I mean, I wish there were some Raptors shooting 34 from deep. I'm not gonna lie about that, but that's definitely not Clay numbers.
That's an option. We can get 34. That's allowed.
Like really?
I didn't know that was a shot.
Ooh, we are shooting like garbage right now.
Speaking of something that's not shooting so great, so we got the Suns also. They're not playing so hot. Granted, of course, when we got sandbagged that one loss, KD and Booker went off. 62 points put together, and the team only scored like 120, so they had half their team's points. Bradley Beal hasn't played much, though. And whenever Bradley Beal's set, Booker's injured. And when they've had played together, it's not pretty.
Why do people still think Bradley Beal's going to be healthy?
I was just
about to say, like, what's
how long has it been? Like, I'm gonna pull you guys continue. I'm gonna pull up and see how many games he's played
just
over the past like I just don't understand why he keeps being considered as this piece when he's never available. He's never available.
No, he's not. So that's what is this Shay, while Jade is doing our excellent research, is this even a big three, really?
No. I don't know. I don't think so.
Is this more 2 stars and a solid role player?
If he's available.
Like if he plays, if everyone's available, yeah.
So for Bradley Beal, he played all 82 games in the 17-18 and 18-19 seasons. Okay, but that was a hot minute ago. Since then, he played 57 games in 1920, 60 games the following season, 40 the one after that, and 50 games last season. He's only played 3 games so far this season. So, like, at a certain point, it kind of feels like, you know, he's got the skills, he can hoop. But is he going to be available enough, especially at the money that he's pulling in, to be an asset for your team?
Oh, God. Sorry, Cat.
Do we, because now that you bring up the injury history, as he's played his entire career in Washington, do you kind of look at the medical staff in Washington? Because, like, think of players where their careers have just dropped because of injuries they've had while being there. John Wall, Bradley Beal. That's what Gilbert Arenas had, some injuries that kind of knocked him out. Like, is this a Wizards? I know this is West Coast we're talking about right now, but I think there's something that we should look at.
It's hard because, but even in his rookie season, he was only 19. He only played 56 games. So I think this is a Bradley Beal. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Washington has any clue what they're doing as an organization and as a franchise. But I think he's just a little bit fragile. He wouldn't be the first NBA player to be. He won't be the last.
Do you think he'd be able to fit into at least a shooter's role, at least for the team? Because besides, like, they don't really have some shooting around them.
They need it. Like, if he's going to do anything, if he can just be a threat from out there, space the floor for KD. Book loves to play in the mid-range and in the paint. Like, even if he can just be a threat, that improves the team. But, like, he has to suit up for that shit.
I think my worry always about KD is, when is he going to get hurt this season, and how long will he be out? Because it happens every season. Like, even if it's a minor injury, he's always out a certain amount, and we don't know when that's going to be.
It's always least opportune amount, too.
It is, too. He has terrible injury timing.
It's like, oh, man, your team's in full swing, and, your injury's only going to be for, like, 2 weeks or something, but, like, it's a crucial 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Like, at Kevin Durant's level, you're missing 30 points, you're missing out 9 rebounds and stuff like that. Like, 2 blocks, you're missing out on.
It's a lot to try and make up for.
And especially, he's another guy, built different. But, all right, so I think Suns have set today, and I think us talking about the West has set today, too. So now, alley-ooping it straight to stuff with Jade Johnson.
All righty, so we have another week in the books. We have another set of predictions. Just bear with me while I get my setup ready for this. So we're going to start with the Raptors just because there's nothing fun to talk about for the Raptors. So I'm just going to get it out of the way. Like, I'm just going to get it out of the way. So I predicted we would beat the Bucks, and I do have a little bit of a story. I was working last Tuesday, and I get obviously all my notifications from Bleacher Report, Whoa, Shams, all that stuff. All
Fletcher.
my fantasy reports, so like Yahoo Fantasy and ESPN Fantasy, send me updates on people playing, people not playing. And so I got my notification from Yahoo because Giannis is on one of my Yahoo teams that he was not going to play against the Raptors. And I thought, shit, it would be such a Raptors thing to have happen for Dame time to arrive for the first game of the season against the Raptors. And that's exactly what happened. Dame finally had his first good game. He hasn't had a bad game since. Finally showed up, torched us. So I got that one wrong, but I got my other two predictions right. We lost to the Celtics. We whooped the Pistons yesterday, like royally whooped them. So that puts me, I'm creeping towards 500 on my predictions, 462 for the week. So we'll go to Shay's predictions. And Shay, what do you think? So up until this week, Shay had a perfect record. She doesn't have a perfect record anymore, but still pretty damn good because she still only got one wrong. Only one wrong. So the Nets beat the Magic. Nets beat the Magic in tournament play. Lost to or beat the Heat, but you thought you would lose to the Heat, so you don't get that one. But you do get the loss to the Sixers. Did you get to watch Nets this week while you were convalescing?
I can't quite remember who I watched, to be honest.
It's kind of just all blurred.
Yeah, there does. I think I did catch a little bit. Yeah.
So your record, you're now 12-1 on the season, 923. Taylor, we got our work cut out for us trying to catch up, but the Timberwolves are the story this week. The Timberwolves are 9-1 in their last 10 games. Taylor predicted all wins. You got 3 out of 4, so now we are tied at 462. Both of us creeping towards 500 on our season predictions for our teams. Tell me about the Timberwolves this week, Taylor. What went down?
Okay, well, Rudy's neck is okay.
Excellent.
Suns, we got straight sandbagged. We got sandbagged. Like, we showed up. That Warriors game was a very physically and mentally and emotionally draining game for us. And then the next night we're against Suns, who had a couple days rest.
Yeah,
right.
And that's when
schedule loss.
Everybody, I was watching the like bits and pieces at the gym, and I was like, "This sucks," but I was just like, I was okay with it. Everyone, there was like people at the club, like, "This looks like the right Timberwolves," and then I like point out, like, well, "This is what we're doing." Like, I'll show them like the basic stuff that anyone can see, just like, "Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense for defense." Well, I was just like, "You see all of this? This is a rough game for us.
Yeah,
we're gonna bounce back." Pelicans, we were down 14. And we came back in the fourth. Knicks, we dominated them all night. And it was glorious watching Tom. I think Minnesotans, or like Timberwolves fans, hate Tom Thibodeau more than they despise Jimmy Butler.
I could see it.
I legitimately think that. Because Tom Thibodeau was the one that every future idea that we had as a Wolves organization, he was the one that was like, and kicked everybody. He kicked everybody out.
Speaking of the Knicks, I just want to share a little bit since we got to the Knicks. So the Knicks have a lawsuit against the Raptors right now. You may or may not have heard.
I did.
So allegedly, one of the assistants that Darko Rajakovic hired was from the Knicks, and he took some proprietary paperwork with him to the Raptors when he left. Although at the time that this lawsuit was filed, this person was not even actually employed by the Raptors. So it's all very murky and convoluted. But yesterday there was a bit of an update. So the Knicks are looking for more than $10 million in damages from the Toronto Raptors over this. Like, I'm just, even still saying it, I'm just like, what is happening?
Is this a James Dolan thing?
Yes. So yesterday, of course it is. Of course it is. So yesterday, that came out, and James Dolan says, or the Knicks are saying that they don't want Adam Silver arbitrating the disagreement because Adam Silver is tight with Larry Tenenbaum, who is like head of MLSE, who owns the Toronto Raptors and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then, so today, I don't know if you guys all saw this, but this comes directly from Woj. So before launching suit against Toronto that includes questioning Adam Silver's objectivity, Knicks owner James Dolan resigned his positions on the board of governors, influential advisory, finance, and media committees. This is according to a memo obtained by ESPN. And there's a quote. This is, again, coming from Woj. James Dolan apparently says, given all that has occurred lately, I have come to the conclusion that the NBA neither needs nor wants my opinion. And I retweeted that and said, well, it took you long enough to figure that out.
When was the last time we took his opinion?
Nobody wants to hear you, James Dolan. Like,
No.
you're the biggest joke in NBA ownership.
You're compared to the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA, and that's not a good thing.
That's not a good thing.
That's
Although,
not a good thing.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's where we're at with James Dolan. So that's our results for the week. We're going to take a quick look at where our win total predictions are for our teams, and we'll jump into this coming week's games. So, Taylor, you are up to 10. You got your first whole stack of wins out of your 46 that you predicted. So 21.7% already towards your win prediction. Looking pretty good for you. Shay and I both have, I think it's 6 each. Some of the stuff on the screen is like covering up my graphic, and it's stuff we can't get rid of because it's like the timer and shit.
Oh yeah.
So Shay's got 6 of her 42 for 14.3, and I have 6 of my 43 wins for 14% even. So on to this coming week in basketball. Shay, you are at Atlanta and then home to the Knicks and the Bulls this week. How do you think this is going to go down?
Win, loss, win.
Win, loss, win. It's a hard bet against the Heat once they get rolling. The Heat have won, I want to say 6 in a row at this point. So, like, man, and I still don't think they're gonna get there. Like, even when they do this, I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it from the Heat. I can't tell you why.
And they've gotten far the last few seasons and then done nothing with it. So I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, they were in they were an 8th seed. They were in play-in tournament. Team went to the finals last season, which is
that a fluke for them. They should have been 4th.
Like it feels. Anyways, all right. So Shay's got a win against Atlanta, loss to Miami, win against Chicago, who are in a weird place. We're going to get into that a little bit later.
Nope.
Taylor, you are home and then 1 game on the road this week. Home to the Sixers and the Kings. And then you have the Grizzlies. You're giving me a look. Maybe I got that wrong.
No. I'm trying. I thought.
Oh, I see.
This is a big 3-game stretch right here.
Yep, it is.
I'm going to give us. I'm going to go all wins.
What? Right. I mean,
your team's doing
great. So
Ant's top 5 for MVP this year. Cat's getting slightly more respect this year because he's not as whiny this year anymore, and that's something that has been. He's getting more foul calls for him now, which that's always been a huge issue, is because he whines so much. Yeah, even though when you get hit, shut up, and then maybe we'll call it again. But he's getting that stuff, and he's just playing smarter. Rudy Gobert is now up for Defensive Player of the Year again. I don't think he's going to win it, but knowing that he is back into conversations again, all 3 of these teams have big men that I've worried about. Rudy can at least kind of go mano-a-mano with each of those big men that Cat has always had issues with. Cat's had issues with Sabonis. obviously has had issues with Embiid. Granted, I do like that matchup because they always bring out the best of each other. And Jarrett Jackson Jr. always has his number out for Cat.
The reason if it was me that I would not give these a given as a win is both the Sixers and the Kings have a backcourt not so secret weapon in De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Maxey. So even if you can stop Embiid and Sabonis, you got to stop those guys too.
I got lose the Sixers,
all right,
and then win Kings and Grizzlies. We have Ant as one of our.
That's fair.
Backcourt.
I
can't forget about that.
I'm just saying.
And then when Mike Conley is on the court, whatever offensively, when just league wide, he has when he is in a lineup, he leads the best offensive, one of the best defensive efficiency. Right. So that's deep analytical stuff I'd look for the Timberwolves. We don't got to get on that because that's just my thing.
All right, so we got 2 wins and a loss for the Nets, 2 wins and a loss for the Wolves. We'll go on to my Raptors. We have a big week this week. We've got 2 in-season tournament games because we didn't play our first in-season tournament game until last week. So we are behind in group play. So we're at Magic, at Pacers, home to the Bulls, at Cavaliers. This is tough because the Magic have been playing actually like pretty good basketball. Banchero has been lights out. He's been so good. The Pacers are rolling. Yeah. So like I'm worried about those 2 matchups to start my week. One of the Magic is tonight. I'm going to be a little bit optimistic because OG is back in our starting lineup and he always takes the hardest matchup and often holds the opposing team's best player to their worst games of seasons. So I'm going to say we're going to beat the Magic. I think we're going to lose to the Pacers. The Pacers are just rolling. They're working like a well-oiled machine. Tyrese Halliburton has had just a ridiculous start to the season. I listened to him. Guys. I listened to him on Old Man of the 3 episode last week, and he was like, it's just so interesting listening to them. And I love that podcast. It's my favorite because like you have current players talking about what happened last week in basketball. Yes, please. More of that.
Everyone loves JJ and respects JJ Redick too.
I love JJ Redick.
The other players, coaches, commentators, all of them are like, when JJ talks, we listen.
We're going to beat the Bulls and we're going to beat the Cavaliers. I'm going to say our only loss this week is going to be to the Pacers. I'm not as confident about this as I'd like to be, but I'm trying to be optimistic. Hopefully we get a little bit of shooting happening this week.
Donovan Mitchell healthy for the Cavs right now?
No, he is not. You know how I know that? Because he's on one of my fantasy teams and it is hurting me bad.
What is his injury?
Let me double check. He's been out for days too, like just days.
Because like
let me see.
I'm hopefully mixing it up because on 2K, Donovan Mitchell's injured too.
Oh, really?
He's out with a ruptured Achilles.
Ooh.
So I'm like, that's in the game, right?
He's got a hamstring.
Oh, thank God.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I was like,
hamstring strain. So he's.
I was just like, I hope that's the game itself and not real life because I love Donovan Mitchell.
Me too.
Which I hated that Utah Jazz team, but I loved the players. Mike Conley was on that team. I love him. Rudy Gobert, I mean, granted, he's on my team now, but like even when he's Defensive Player of the Year, I liked him. Donovan Mitchell, so much fun to watch.
All right. Well, since you're talking so much, Taylor, I'm just going to throw it back over to you.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to shut up. Okay. So we're talking about this week. We're going to be Sixers are rolling. And so many factors have changed for them since the beginning of the year even. So there's no Doc Rivers and there's no Harden. Is it bigger for having the no Harden or is it bigger for having the no Doc? Jade.
I say because it's regular season, definitely Harden because like Doc Rivers thing is choking in playoffs, right? that's that's Doc's thing. So for this point in the season, I say definitely having Harden move on, but it's less Harden leaving and more, I think, Tyrese Maxey getting a green light. I said last season, I said Tyrese Maxey should be running this offense. Like, there's no question. You watch that boy play, you watch the decisions he makes, how fast he is, the passes, the shooting. Tyrese Maxey should be running that offense. Embiid can still be the number one scoring option, but the offense needs to run through Maxey, and it is, and it looks good. Like, man, that boy gets a step, and he's gone. Like, you cannot stay in front of him.
Shay, do you think this is probably one of the happiest seasons for Joel Embiid in his career?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think the best thing that has happened to the Sixers in a while is that they were able to clean house so easily. You know, they didn't have to make a lot of drama. Harden left on his terms, you know, rather than them having to try to really, like, they got rid of him before it got toxic for anyone, which was good. Like, it could have been a lot worse. So I think Joel is, like, in a great place. Like, this is a place that wants to and now has all attention on him.
Do you think the Clippers being so bad with Harden makes him smile a little bit bigger, Shay?
Without a doubt. Without a
Embiid
doubt.
is definitely that guy. A little bit of Schadenfreude.
Since their coach is Nick Nurse, Jade, you know all about him. Do you think that this team will take the success you can get from a Doc Rivers team in the regular season, and hopefully their idea was to get the success that Nick Nurse has as a playoff coach? They're hoping that that's going to roll over to the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that had to be the play, right? Like, the thing that we saw happen in Toronto last season with Nick Nurse is that Nick Nurse never had to develop a squad. Nick Nurse inherited a squad that was ready to do the thing once Kawhi Leonard was added. They were a perennial playoff team. They had won playoff series. They just couldn't quite get over that kind of second round Eastern Conference Finals hump.
So LeBron.
Sure. Yeah, everybody, you know, for that 10 years in the Eastern Conference, LeBron.
He just had it for Toronto.
That you know what? It's one of my biggest pet peeves when Toronto fans are like, "Oh, LeBron killed us." LeBron killed everybody in the Eastern Conference, the entire Eastern Conference for 10 years. The Warriors did it for the same 10 years in the West.
Oh no, I say that too.
That was a decade of basketball. LeBron did not specifically hurt Toronto more than he hurt anybody.
I should say every single time you guys get to the second round, you guys are all clicking, and then it's always
Run into
LeBron
LeBron.
right away. It's always
LeBron.
him the next round. It's like, can you just have him get knocked out?
Like,
and
just
we
once.
just don't even run into him at all?
Just one time. That's all. That's all we needed.
Just once.
But you know, we got it done. We got it done in 19. I'm hanging my hat on that.
No, yeah, you could still say that.
But Nick Nurse he's a brilliant tactician. And you know that when it comes to the playoffs, that to me is the skill beyond any other when it comes to head coaching that's the most important in the playoffs. Because it's different when you play the same team at least 4 times in a row. It's different than seeing them scattered out sporadically throughout your season. You get to know each other better. You get into a rhythm against each other. It's the same things. So that ability to move those chess pieces and make those adjustments that Nick Nurse has, I think is going to make a big difference when it comes playoff time for the Sixers.
I am curious on, because the Sixers are a regular season team. I'm curious if they can switch that and also become a contending team. So, we're going to go on team that's on the opposite side of the spectrum. That team that we were saying that has a terrible court for the tournament, Chicago Bulls. So, everyone is pretty much up for trade up there now. Caruso's on the block. Levine is already having talks like, yep.
DeMar,
because he's not getting any younger. I would like DeMar to get a ring himself. I don't necessarily want him as the star. Put him as third banana. Maybe by next year, even 6 man. I don't know about that. But where do you see them by the end of 2023-24, Jade? Where do you see them as a team? Are they dead last?
I don't know that they're. All right, hold on. I got to look at the standings here quickly before I say that. Where are we? That's the Western Conference. I want the
They're
Eastern
5
Conference.
and 10.
They're 5-10. So I don't think they finished worse than the Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons, who they are currently sitting in 13, 14, and 15.
Oh, Detroit.
I like Detroit. Detroit is 2-13. The Wizards are 2-11. The Hornets have twice as many wins as those two teams. They're 4-9.
And that says a lot right there.
Is that right? I don't see the Bulls being worse than those three teams. I don't see them being much better than they are, though, unless I don't understand. And I've been trying to figure out the Bulls for seasons now because their talent is so much better than their performance has been for several seasons in a row now. So,
And
what is the
coaching
problem?
either.
I don't think so either. And maybe it's just not their time.
Is their coach Scotty
I don't
Brooks?
know.
No, Billy Donovan.
The
Billy
other,
Donovan.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was successful. Was he the one that took the OKC to the finals that one year? Or was that Scotty Brooks?
Scotty Brooks. Right?
I've never been Billy Donovan. He won in college, but he's been real mediocre in the NBA. And right now,
How long has he been coaching? Do you guys know how long he's been coaching the Bulls?
in the NBA, a little over 10 years.
Okay, so
Because-
he was the coach in 2016 of the Thunder.
And did he go to the Bulls after that?
Yeah.
So I'm super confused as to why he hasn't been fired.
I think he's a guy that won't. If he gets fired, he won't be in the NBA next year. He might go back to
No.
college.
I
He
would
was
go back to
crazy
college.
successful as a college coach. Back-to-back titles with Florida, where he had Joakim, he had Noah, he had Al Horford, he had Corey Brewer. Just look how many years Al Horford was in the NBA, and then maybe dock that by 4 years, and that's how long Billy Donovan's been in.
I find it so odd in the climate of the NBA where coaches get fired after going to the finals. Coaches
Right.
get fired after
Dwayne Casey.
winning coach of the year, right? So I'm super confused as to it. It's got to be the front office.
It has
Because they're not moving things along.
Oh, I've heard I think Paxson is their front office, and I guess Chicago people hate him. Bill Paxson. And I was just like, he used to be a Chicago guy for the Bulls, in the 90s. He was part of a three-peat. But I think Paxson is still their front office guy. And if that's the case, then I'm surprised he's still there.
Yeah, so I just looked up his stats real quick as a coach. So he's been coaching in Chicago, like Shay said, since he left OKC. 2020-21 was his first season in Chicago. He's got records of 431, 561, 488, and 333 so far this season. Only made the playoffs one of those years. He has a record of 200. So, why haven't they changed the coach when they know they've got Zach LaVine in his prime wasting away? They've got Vucevic there who's still doing work. They've got DeMar there who's fully capable of putting up the numbers. How come he hasn't been fired yet? I'm confused. I'm totally confused by this.
I'm checking the front office of stuff for the Bulls. I'm trying to see. I saw, Bill Paxson or John Paxson. That's his name, John Paxson. Senior advisor and basketball operations. So Oh, then there's Jim Paxson, director, pro personnel. I wonder if they just have a bunch of. They get the whole family involved. Jeez Louise.
There's your problem right there. Something has to change in the front office because they're talented. Kobe White's really good.
God, I
he's
feel
on the
so
Bulls.
bad for that kid.
I feel he needs to get out of Chicago, man. Every time I see him play, I'm like, man, he's so good. He's so good.
He is so great. Have you seen his draft day interview?
No.
Oh, he's just getting he's having this press conference about him getting drafted, and then I think it was Cam Reddish. They were teammates in college. He got drafted a couple picks later, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Cam got drafted." He was like, "Wait, what? Wow!" wow. He says like, wow, like 5 times. He's like, you guys have no idea how hard he worked. And he just keeps on going. I was like, this is a good kid.
He's a nice boy. He's a nice boy.
I want him to have success.
Yep.
And I don't think Chicago is going to. They also
all those guys, Levine, DeRozan, Kobe White, Vucevic, they all need to leave and have
Caruso. Lonzo, I just want back on the court. I don't care what team.
It doesn't matter where, as long as he gets to play again.
He could be a Lakers again, and I'll be like, okay,
he's playing.
I just want to see you on the court. I don't want you to be a guy where it's like your dad ruined your career, which that's not fair to say. That's not fair to say. Injuries, but those shoes did not help. Who do you? I'll ask you both this, Jade. Since of the situation they're in, who do you get rid of? Because someone's going to be gone by the end of the year. Who is the player you're getting rid of? Levine gets you the most opportunity to get things back. Yeah. Vucevic you get a big contract out. DeMar, you get age out. Like, where is this going?
I say Chicago needs to move everyone and commit to a rebuild.
Ooh.
Commit to it. They've been in no man's land for too many seasons with all this talent. If they're not going to fire people, which I think is the first thing that needs to happen, they need to change the coach. They need to change, I think, probably their president of basketball operations as well. If they're not going to change those things, then let everybody go and have like some chance at some good basketball somewhere else, and commit to the process of finding yourself as a team.
Because I think it's just all those players I just mentioned. If they went to any other team right now, they would be welcomed with open arms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcomed with open arms. All of those players we just mentioned, I want them to win a title one way or another. I've always been a fan of Vucevic. Lonzo, like I said, won a court. So, yeah. I want them to all win a title, and Chicago is not going to do it to them. But, so we're still going to be talking Midwest teams, but we're going to be talking about the top of that division. We're going to be talking about Indiana right now first. So, they've been crazy fun to watch. I don't know if you guys have been able to check too much. Halliburton's been putting on a show. Miles Turner, who has been unhappy but has been a great center for them for over the years, is now happy too. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players that average double figures this year.
Damn.
And then they only have 2 players over 30 minutes a game, and that's Bruce Brown and Tyrese Halliburton. That's
crazy.
What, like, I'm trying to think, what is clicking for them now? Is it because of Tyrese Halliburton, his jump from last year to this year, even though he's just taking control of everything?
Yeah.
Like
he's totally just coming into his own right now. And it's the Pacers are playing the best. They have the best offensive rating in the league right now. That's what it is. They just
they have it now.
Yeah. So Halliburton was on Old Man and 3 last week.
Yep.
And JJ Redick was saying, listen, it doesn't even matter where they are defensively if they keep playing offensively this way. You're just not going to be able to keep up with them. They don't need to be significantly better defensively to keep winning.
It's what the Kings were last year.
Yeah.
They were crazy amazing at offense.
Yeah.
Which then you look at it like, yeah, you had their star players, but it's because of the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
But but then the other team that's doing real well, that's also a surprise out of nowhere, the Orlando Magic, the team that I've been unfair to for all of these years of saying NBA purgatory, which I just want you to know, any Magic fans that watch that, you could say that to my Timberwolves too, and I would have accepted that like no other. I've been like, you're right. But I want to pull up some stuff just from one player on that team. One player. So they're also 8-5 in their division. Paolo Banchero leads the team in points, rebounds, and assists. And they're also a team that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 players in double figures, and then 2 other players that are getting 9 a game. And you're getting 2 players that are getting 18 a game. And they're also another team that only has 2 players playing more than 30 minutes. Is that now something, are young Eastern Conference teams, Shay, catching up with the powerhouses just because they have such young talent that are gelling together now finally?
Yeah, and I mean that's I think why we end up seeing the league kind of shift those like from Eastern Conference, Western Conference, like it kind of balance or goes back and forth like a seesaw. I think it's because whenever we're having that domination, the other league is trying to catch up, and then the best way to catch up is of course getting picks, trading for potential superstars that are later down the line that maybe some scouts see that current front office people don't. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't get me wrong. The Eastern Conference is like finding its way, but like the West is so packed.
It's packed.
Like it's a whole different level than I remember it ever being.
It's interesting this year too, though, because I was talking to my roommate about it because he only really watches weekend Raptors games because of his schedule. And I'm watching like a little bit of everybody in all the Raptors games. So like I have a more picture, a larger sample size of the NBA. And for the first time that I can remember, maybe ever, I think every team has a legitimate star, at least one. Every single team in the NBA. That never used to be a thing.
Not Wizards.
Not the Wizards, that's fair. Right now.
Even
Poor
Detroit's got Cade Cunningham.
Even Detroit's got Cade Cunningham. Like the
Yeah.
Rockets got Freddie and Sengun, who is
They got
an
Green.
up-and-coming star. They got Green. Like even the bad teams have excellent players, which changes the landscape of things a bit because a player can go off on any given night and upset a top team. And it's easier when you know you've got one guy, at least one guy that can go off for 30 points. And every team has somebody capable of that right now.
I absolutely love that I Google like news search Cade Cunningham, and like a day ago he's quoted. It says like the ESPN headline: Cade Cunningham candid on last place Pistons. We're bad.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, I'm happy that he said that because
Right.
it's kind of refreshing when a player's just like, nah,
Yeah,
man,
that's where we at.
that's where we're at right now, and we are not good.
But
And
you know what? You know why that is such a good thing? Because you can't deal with shit that you don't acknowledge head on.
Yep.
Right? And I feel like going back to the Bulls for a second, I feel like that's whatever is wrong in the Bulls, nobody is acknowledging it, so they can't deal with it.
Right.
At least with the Pistons, they know exactly where they are, which means they can make a plan to move away from it.
do you think that's kind of a sign somewhat on the maturity of the players, though? Like with Cade Cunningham being able to call out his team like that, or is that more of a dysfunction in the locker room?
I don't
Jade.
see a lot of dysfunction, locker room dysfunction in the Pistons. I think they're just young, and they're finding their way. And you know, if Casey brings some of that Toronto magic from when Toronto was terrible, then they're a couple of seasons from being all right. Like the Pistons have a really talented roster.
Monty Williams is in Detroit now.
Oh, is he? Where's Casey? Did he get fired?
I don't think he's coaching anymore.
I totally missed that. Totally missed it.
Well, that's what happened.
Even better, though. Even better. I prefer Monty Williams as a coach. So.
Oh yeah.
I stand by.
Bonnie is good. Bonnie's good for a great team and a developing team.
Mm-hmm.
Great team because he's not afraid to get in the faces of his top players. Great for a young team because he knows also when to coddle some players, being like, yeah, you need me yelling at you is not going to get anything done.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm going to put my arm around you and we're going to have a talk. Not going to get yelled at, but we're going to have a talk. But so, well, that went from Pacers all the way to, and Magic all the way to Detroit. That's the magic of that. Well, I think we've hit up the Eastern Conference because we doing something similar to what we did with Western. Surprise team. great teams that are kind of falling, all that stuff. So diving away from Eastern Conference, let's get the Twitter time. Let's get some laughs from Shay.
All right, y'all. So, there's been some weird stuff going on in the league, at least on court. I wish there was a little bit more off court drama. That's my personal fave, but I'll deal with it. Oh my gosh,
I'll make some drama outside.
Shay loves the tea.
I do. I love the tea. But I can never remember where they moved the bookmarks to. It's really bothersome. Okay, I found it. Don't worry.
To the middle of the book.
Okay.
Boo.
We got to go here. Come on, from Bhun, aka at Bhun 2020. NBA cats trying to scrap will never not be funny. LOL. They are too tall to be out here tussling.
They are too tall. They are too tall. It's awkward.
It looks like
what was he thinking? It just
he wanted to be doing this for years.
Yes.
Draymond, this is something that's been boiled, not even from because this was game 2 against them, us playing them. This has been something that has been boiling since Rudy was in Utah. Like this probably has to deal with some bad playoff blood.
So this is beef, you're saying? This is beef.
This is beef. Oh, this is beef. This is beef. How everyone's saying, oh, Rudy shouldn't have went for Clay first. Okay, I get that. But then I saw online, it was a bunch of pictures. Like there was like 2 or 3 of Steven Adams picking up the player on the other team and he's not doing anything. He just picks him up and he walks away.
Carries him away.
He didn't get any fines for that.
I love Steven Adams.
But then Rudy gets fined for, and like I totally get that. You went for the wrong player, Rudy. I get that. You get the fine. Well then, come on then. I think one reason though I did that is because then Golden State probably would have said something too.
Yeah, I think at a certain point you just have to like hit up everybody who was involved just to like be done with it.
I do feel bad for Cat for one reason, because everyone was calling him out. Oh, you're not doing enough. And I was like, okay, if he would have done something more, he would have been ejected and people would have said he doesn't know how to calm his emotions.
Right.
If he doesn't do anything like kind of what he did now, which he's still doing stuff. Right. If he wouldn't have done anything, or if he wouldn't have done anything, well, now he's soft.
Yeah.
So regardless of what he would do, he was going to lose. And then I did also point out to some fans that then no comment happened after. What about Edwards?
Right.
But and I think the thing that a lot of NBA fans forget is that they do interviews before they hand out these fines, right? They talk to everybody who is involved, because there was another incident involving a headlock and the Timberwolves a couple of seasons ago.
Yep.
And Ben Simmons was involved in that, but Ben Simmons didn't get fined because after they conducted the interviews, they found that Ben Simmons was acting as a peacemaker. He wasn't further instigating, whereas here, obviously, Draymond has a history and a reputation, but also he's clearly not trying to calm things down. So
he's talking trash to him the entire time.
When you look at these situations, the NBA does talk to the players and the refs and the different people involved before they decide on fines and whatnot.
I'm just like, it's funny seeing the refs try to get in there because they look like
they're so small.
They're
have you guys seen the video of Jeff Van Gundy trying to break up a fight in the 90s? And
I think I have.
Along by Alonzo Mourning.
I have seen that.
That's so good.
They will
still, if they pass by each other, like whenever like ES or ABC had games and Jeff Van Gundy was in Miami, they will still pass by the hallway and they'll like give a smile at each other and chuckle because it's like we'll forever be connected.
We did that
one moment. Like everyone will forget that, like in the 90s, Miami Heat and New York basketball, like that was a good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Now everyone's just gonna think of that little guy on the ground getting dragged around by this massive NBA player flexing. But
all right, so for my next one, we got from JD Jackson, aka the West Wolf Pod. Fun stat. Last season, on December 2nd, 2022, Russell Westbrook and LeBron James combined for 22 assists and 0 turnovers versus the Bucks as a Laker. On November 20th, 2023, Russell Westbrook and James Harden combined for 16 assists and 0 turnovers versus Spurs as a Clipper. Wow, Clipper. Huh. Doesn't matter who Russ is with, he's an elite play-making talent, and so are those guys. Do you guys think, there's always a narrative going on with Russ. And, even now, people are talking about him choosing to come off the bench. As that was a decision from him to support the team. But we also, I think one thing this tweet doesn't quite encapsulate is how much last year the Lakers were blaming him for everything.
I love that you said this, because when I saw the tweet that said he had requested to come off the bench, I quoted it and said my own tweet and said, but he was the whole problem in the Lakers, right? Right? Like, he is such a professional guy. And something that we've seen a lot of in the past few seasons of the NBA is that just because you're talented, if you are unprofessional, if you lack professionalism, sometimes it doesn't matter how talented you are. You're still a problem. Looking at you, James Harden. So just it makes me crazy when Russ gets so much hate, especially from that whole Lakers situation, because I am not a professional at basketball in any way, and I looked at that roster and went, what are you doing? Like, why do you think this is
in 2015? Oh, that would have been a title.
Right. Yeah.
2023. Oh, they're barely scraping the barrel. I feel Russell Westbrook, everyone felt like every team he went to, they were like, this is the answer. He's the answer that's going to put us over. And when he wasn't the one that officially pulled him over, he gets scapegoated for it. And it's like, well, no, that's one player to a 15-team roster. Even if you're only playing 8 people, okay, what are the other 7 doing?
So instead of looking at the big picture, you just see, we added this guy, and we decided that this was going to work, and since it didn't work, it can't possibly be that we are making poor decisions. No, It has to be Russ. It has to be Russ.
He averaged a triple-double 3 years ago. How come he can't do that now? Because he's 35.
I was going to say 3 years is a long time between your early and mid-30s, speaking from experience.
Like, this guy is at the end of his career. He's at the tail end of his career.
Yeah.
And he's had a phenomenal career. First ballot, Hall of Famer, all of that stuff.
I'm going to cry.
He's at the end of it. Like,
and it's always people who you can look at them and be like, you ain't never hooped in your life. You've never hooped in your life. You do not know what you are talking about.
Hear that a lot when I work at the gym at night, and we're watching. Like, I have basketball set up in our lounge, like our lounge's TV. Lot of passerby fans with it all.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you still thought LeBron was on the Cavs? Have you heard of the Lakers in the bubble? Have you? And the person didn't know that, like, Steph Curry won another title. And I was like,
oh, geez.
That was the most meaningful title that he had ever won, almost, arguably, because he also won the MVP of it.
Right.
When I'm talking to people and things like that come up, I'm just like, oh, you're not worth my time in talking about basketball.
Right. Like,
you are not, sorry, you're not on my level. You go and get caught up when we can talk in the future. But right now, this is a waste of my time. I can't do this with you.
Yep. I will. Yep. At some points, then I just nod my head. So being like, I have no time for this argument.
And like, I'm not mad at you. You know, not everybody loves basketball the way I do. Not everybody puts as much time into it as we do. That's okay. It's okay for you to not know what you're talking about, but you need to know that you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
It's one thing with debating, and then there's one thing with arguing.
Right.
With the casual people, it's arguing.
Yes.
With actual, like, people at least pay attention to it, at least catch a couple games a week, regardless if it's a specific team or not. They could probably give me a debate, at least, being, I've watched XYZ games and I see this player do that, being like, okay, you are telling me stuff, not just being like, well, on 2K He's got an 83 rating at 3 point, so he should be shooting the ball better. And it's like, well, they take the stats from last year. You know that, right?
Right. And you know what? It's crazy too. I've had arguments with people who are like, you play fantasy basketball, I can't take you seriously. And I'm like, fantasy basketball is literally what's happening today in basketball.
Right.
How's your fantasy football league then?
It's one
Right.
piece. It's one piece of the information that I combine with watching a crap ton of games and reading and all this other stuff. But like, oh, you play fantasy, but I can't even take you seriously. Like,
It's
all right, okay.
fantasy football. Same with like the NCAA tournament. That's a fantasy thing, and people are still spending billions of dollars on that.
Yeah.
They just don't respect it. I just can't
have
do it.
this fun one from Jack Clippers, aka at Jack Clips LA. My friend saw Kawhi Leonard getting help at the self-checkout the other day at Target. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I've also seen Spencer Dinwiddie at Target. So the NBA and Target and getting help at the self-checkout.
You know,
feel
those
like-
those self-checkout things are a pain in the ass.
I get
prefer
scared at the Target
self-checkout
one.
because I prefer it because it's faster, but like
The Target ones are intense.
something always goes wrong. Something always goes wrong in the self-checkouts.
Sorry, I muted for a second because it sounds like there's like a fire truck outside. Okay, I have
My
two more.
conspiracy with that though is because Target doesn't trust their customers, so this is their way to prevent them from stealing from the store. Because oh no, it's broken. What item did you screw up? Oh, I see that you have an extra item. Let's put that through there. So you have some extra cookies. That's my conspiracy with it. That's why it breaks down.
Well, you would know. You're where like Target originated.
Yeah,
so.
my mom worked for Target headquarters for a couple of years too. Like
Damn.
Target
Wow.
Center too, Target Field.
I went to the like original store, their main store, and I felt like I was in like a mall. It was beautiful.
It's amazing.
And last from Go Birds, aka at No Talent Shan. What is it like for an NBA player to have a cat when they're so far away on the ground? Feels because I'm only 5'2", and that is so hard to pet my cat when, you know, can you imagine adding like another 2 feet?
Well, can't they like jump on top of like fridges?
I was gonna say,
They
cats
do.
have hops. Cats have major hops.
They
Like, what's-
do, but like my cat doesn't always want to. He'll just look at me and meow. You know?
Well, I think that might be just your cat.
Yeah, that's
He's a
just your
weirdo.
cat.
That's just your cat.
That's just your cat. I mean,
Okay,
cats are you know, the animals
Just-
with weird personalities.
They are.
They have two personalities.
Not mine.
It's
Not
hi
mine.
there and ew.
I
My
wanna
cats
know,
are
though-
100% cuddly 100% of the time.
I
'cause you're
want to
cute.
like find out which NBA players do have cats because a lot of them talk about their dogs. But like, are you telling me no NBA player has a cat?
That's true.
I
I've
mean, White
never
House
heard
got
an
8 snakes.
NBA player talk about a cat. And cats are way easier to leave home alone for a few days at a
Exactly.
time.
Except for
Maybe
mine.
it's
he has-
because the
cats
hands of an
issues.
NBA player are so massive, and cats are usually very small. And usually, you see NBA players with big dogs or something like that.
Right, they're tough.
Anthony Edwards has a bulldog
Yeah.
named him Ant Jr. He is adorable. He's
I
like the
love-
unofficial mascot for the Wolves.
When athletes post about their dogs or their pets, I get so excited. But that's why I'm like, I'm gonna do some research into who has cats.
Yeah, I'm interested in this.
I should.
I wanna
Oh
know.
man, I wish I could figure that out and use it as a fast break question. How many more cats are in the league? How many more dogs are owned than in cats in the NBA?
All right. Well, that's the end of Twitter. I mean, not forever. Today, though.
I wish it was, but that's just me. That's just me. It really was the end of Twitter. It really would do, even though I think that would sadden you, Shay.
It would.
I mean,
love
I
that.
really like Twitter. I like NBA
True.
Twitter a lot.
True.
Me too.
I prefer X, but you know what? I'm just like that.
No,
Like,
go
everybody-
away.
Everybody went to the iPod. I like Zune. Whatever. Like I prefer my own. I toot
Don't
my
tell me
own horn.
that.
Well, today has been a blast. We got lots of banter. Lots of hot takes. Teams taking high jumps, teams taking low jumps, and everything. The rest of the season is going to be up for grabs for it. So now with everything done, now we're going to switch over to my fast break to wrap up the episode. I have 3 questions that Shane, Jade have zero knowledge about, and I'll see if I can outsmart them. Okay. So Draymond Green. He's been a theme for the entire episode pretty much, except minus in the Eastern Conference discussion. Which of these facts is wrong about Draymond? A, he's had 19 ejections. B, 4 career suspensions. C, over $1 million in fines. Or D, 154 technicals.
Ooh.
Shay, what do you think?
B.
B, 4 career suspensions.
Yeah.
I'm going C, $1 million in fines.
It's actually technicals. He's had 171 technicals. He's $1.4 million worth of fines, 19 ejections. One thing, out of his last 10 ejections, 7 of them, Steph Curry wasn't playing. The other 3, Steph was playing.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting.
And that game where he got ejected, that was in 2 minutes of the game. Within 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that was like the very beginning of that game. And I was watching another game and I started getting the notifications and I'm like, what is going on?
I watched it and I blinked and then it was happening. So I'm like, what?
I was at my buddy Nasty's house and we stood up. We were like, whoa, what happened? What happened? We were just playing with his dog, Daisy, and next thing you know, we're seeing everybody throwing fists. Okay, next question. What do Jamal Murray, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, and SGA all have in common? A, same agent. B, same college. C, same contract size. Or D, drafted the same spot in their respected years. Jade, what do you think?
I don't think it's college and I don't think it's contract. So that leaves me with agent and draft spot. I'm going to say agent.
Agent?
I'm
Shay?
going to say draft spot.
You're both wrong. It's Kentucky. It's the same college.
Really?
Oh,
Kentucky guards.
He went there.
I'm going to point out some other Kentucky guards that came out from there. Okay, so we have Maxey, Quickly, Hero, SGA, Malik Monk, Fox, Murray, Devin Booker.
Damn, Kentucky's a guard machine.
That's within the past 8 years.
That's crazy.
That's within the past 8 years.
Dang.
And then that's with all Coach Calipari. Before Calipari was there, he was in Memphis. Derrick Rose and John Wall. So just knows how to push out talented guards. Okay, next one, last one. And this goes throughout NBA history. Which NBA has set a record of 3 11-game losing streaks in a calendar year? It's not just one season. It can be from the end of one season to the beginning of the next season. So one calendar year, 2023.
Okay.
Is it A, Detroit, B, Clippers, C, or D, Charlotte? And this is, like I said, all time. This is all time. Jade, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Charlotte.
Shay?
Repeat them again. Sorry.
Detroit, Clippers, and
Right.
Charlotte.
Clippers.
Clippers? It's Detroit. And you want to know when?
Damn. Yes.
Yeah.
Want to know which calendar year? It's this year, 2023, from February 12th to March 11th, and then from March 18th to April 5th, and now from October 30th to October 30th to, my picture cut out, November 19th.
Oh, that makes me feel sad because, like, I grew up on the Pistons, so I still have a soft
That's
spot
two different coaches too.
for Detroit.
That's two
Yikes.
separate coaches. So at this point, it's like, oh,
It's like having the Bad Boys used up all their basketball credit for the next couple of decades, several
like
decades.
the Bad Boys playing
like
now.
they sucked up.
It's like the Bad Boys playing now.
Oh,
Like,
man.
yeah, you want to know
Gordon
why they
Hayward.
couldn't win? It's because they're all 60. So I want to say Taylor was 3-0 this week.
Shh.
How do you like the questions? You guys like these questions this week?
Yeah.
Didn't
They
get
were
like
hard, even if they were multiple choice, and that doesn't always happen. Like
not
in
like
life.
how it was the which NBA team beat the USSR in 1980.
Yeah, that was a
was
little obscure. That was just a little bit obscure.
That will forever be, of the years that we've done fast breaks, that's probably one of my most proud questions. My proudest questions I've come up with. 'Cause
Listen,
that
if you
was-
got to dig that deep to beat us, I take that as a compliment.
I thank you, Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. They have figured out my algorithm way too well. Way too well. Basketball, comedians, and Bigfoot. That's what my Instagram that's my Instagram algorithm. Really digging deep on Taylor's life. Okay, well, I win today. Shay and Jade put up a solid, valiant effort, but I think today we're going to wrap it up. We will see you guys next week where we have more action, more fun, more cake.